Hey guys, if you like the content I've been putting out, make sure to subscribe and like the video. Enjoy. Alright, so it's been a couple days, but the last video I did was Brawlhalla's highest win rate weapon, and I went back to the same website, which is stats.brawlhalla.fr/weapons. It shows you a bunch of different stats for them, such as win rate in ranked, damage dealt, time held on the weapon, and a lot more of other things. But on the very bottom of the list, there was, surprisingly, Orb. So, I think we talk about why. It's interesting because Orb is a weapon, personally, I always feel like at top level, I've seen people do really, really well with it, and personally, I have, in the past, have had a lot of trouble, like, fighting it. So it's interesting to me to see that Lance was at 56%. You know, that's not a surprise, like, at all, that Lance was that high. But I was not expecting Orb to be that low. I was thinking, like, Scythe maybe would have been lower, but I guess people can, like, get some cheesy gimps or something. Orb, however, has a 26% win rate, which is flat out, like, insane. Now, I think the biggest thing that has to do with that is just the fact that Orb, the killing aspect of it can be a little hard sometimes, and plus I feel like people don't know really what to do with, like, the strings and stuff. There's some simple ones, but if you're just, like, picking up Orb, you know, just trying to test it out, it can seem pretty complicated to do because there's a lot of intricacies with the weapon that you might just, like, not know right off the bat. So I think that has to play into it a little bit. Of course, you know, people might just want to be playing other weapons right now, and that's understandable as well. I think Orb is the newest weapon. I mean, I guess you can kind of look at Cannon getting reworked to be like the latest weapon thing, but I guess as far as, like, new weapons being released, Orb is still #1. They're the latest, and it definitely has a smaller sample size of people playing it, so I think that has to play into the fact of why it has a 26% win rate in ranked. It's interesting though because we've seen characters like Thor, we've seen Fate. Fate is a character that actually has a world championship and other tournaments tied to her at this point, you know. First one coming to mind being Sandstorm, but Dobrain at final round, when that was like the first tournament we really saw Fate, and Dobrain kind of showed off like how good that character is, like, because that character then and now, especially with the Orb Sigs, is insanely good. Other legends we've seen that have success, Thor. Simple ended up getting second with Thor. Boomy has played Thor on numerous occasions. Probably all of 2019, that was his most successful character. So, you know, you have a character like Thor, you have a character like Fate that are seeing such success at top level, but then there's this disparity when it comes to ranked. People are just not, they're not finding it with Orb apparently. And again, I think it just goes back to Orb is a harder weapon to get a grip on. I think you can play it simple and just kind of like sit around. Sarah is like extremely good, but I think at top level, Orb will look fantastic. Of course, you know, there's insane players attached to the weapon a lot of the time. Hyson's another person who's been playing Petra, I think, mainly, or in the past he has. I know he's made grand finals several times with Petra, and Petra, Boomy also has had success with Petra, but it's just interesting that Orb has that low of a win rate when at the top level, you know, you're seeing all these people with the success. It makes you wonder, like, maybe if the people that are, like, trying out Orb just put in a little more time, I wonder if Orb would be possibly one of the higher win rate weapons, or at least, you know, not last, because it is quite shocking. I mean, but I can't be too surprised considering, you know, you have Scythe, you have your gauntlets, you have guitars, bow, like, you have all these weapons that you might want to try out. There's a lot of weapons in Brawl at this point, and I think that kind of brings me into another thing. I don't see them adding another weapon anytime soon. And I doubt they probably have their own stats on what, you know, the win rates and what people are using in ranked as far as weapons go. And I'm wondering, this is a shot in the dark, and I don't even want to call it like a theory, or, you know, I guess this is just some random thought that come to me. And that's, I wonder if the devs see like Orb's low play rate. That is, if the stats that I was looking at were right. I wonder if they see that in, you know, ranked, or maybe it's across the board. Maybe like in free-for-all and just all the other game modes too, they have data for. They can see that Orb is consistently the lowest played weapon. I wonder if that's kind of discouraging them from making a new weapon, considering other people aren't really picking it up, or there's not really interest in it. But like I said, I mean, that's just my kind of random thoughts on it. I don't actually think that's probably the case. There's just so many other things that they're doing. Like we just saw, they released the Ben 10 crossover. Like, you know, keep in mind also COVID is still going on, so I bet they're already having a heyday like everyone else and every other company, trying to just prioritize, okay, what needs to be done, what are we gonna do. It's just all a mess right now. So take what I said with like them, you know, maybe not cranking out a new weapon because they see the play rates and stuff with a huge grain of salt, like not like a whole bag, like a whole salt shaker full. Because I honestly doubt it's true. It's just like a possible thought, I guess, you know, although it is like far reaching. I gotta say, it's just so, I don't know. I wonder which Orb character is the most played. I would have to say like Fate, right? Dusk is like never seen. Thor, I think, is easier than Fate just because, you know, Hammer's at its peak right now, if I'm being honest. They did nerf it a little bit, but it's still insanely good. And also Thor has crazy good stats, and also is a, yeah, just solid character, the signatures as well. Just maybe a little easier to learn than Fate. However, Fate, or right now I'm playing the crossover Enchantress for her. You know, the Sig's some of the best in the game, I think. I think Fate has the best Orb kit, without a doubt. So if you are like interested in Orb and you're like looking for probably the best Orb character, some recommendations, try them all out. But I think at the end of the day, there is a clear best, and I would have to give it to Fate. Now, like I said, Scythe is definitely a little harder to learn than Hammer, although the stats for Fate are really good. And it's definitely, if you are like going to be hard committed to Orb, Fate is like just 100% your way to go. Although, you know, Thor then is there if you want a good, strong secondary weapon in Hammer, and also solid stats in Sigs as well. I honestly think another big reason people aren't playing Orb right now is because there isn't like a sword Orb, or their weapon combinations are kind of limited. Because when I was trying to decide, okay, what's the next Orb character I want to play to close out this video, I realized I played all 4 in this video, and that's like insane to think about, that there's only 4 Orb characters. So I feel like that might also be a huge contribution to the fact that, you know, you barely see Orb as is, and the low ranking itself, because people are playing Orb with you know, the secondary weapon being something they're not really used to. And a lot of people play like Sword. Sure, there's a lot of Hammer players and a lot of people interested in Scythe, but at the end of the day, I think Sword, if Orb Sword was the thing, you'd see Orb's numbers like rocket ship for sure. Got double dime, so let's see if we can just close it on a win. I don't really have much else to say. I think I got most of my points across, so we'll just play this one out. I guess I can talk about Orb in 1s and 2s. In 1s, I think it's a fantastic pick. In 2s as well, if you figure this stuff out, it's a great combo weapon for like team combos and stuff, because the moves like Sidelight Stare as a combo itself, you know, it does like around 27 damage, I believe. But it's mainly just great for the fact that it lasts super long, so your teammate can like set up into another hit. But it's just it's a weapon worth trying out. I've thought about playing it before. I just don't know if it's for me. I think a lot of people go back and forth whether or not Orb is like really worth playing. Just because there's so many options right now that are good. It's like, okay, well, why invest time on orb when I could have something that maybe does a better job at killing, but also does the same like fast damage that you can get off. I mean, you know, it's preference at the end of the day, but I think one thing that can be agreed on is that orb does suck pretty bad when it comes to killing, at least horizontally. Now recovery I think is really good as far as coverage goes, and like you saw just there, I just did dare into dare. It's really good for gimping as well. So yeah, that's the video on orb. 26% win rate according to the website I said in the beginning. Now there are the 4 characters I mentioned: Petra, Thor, Fate, and Dusk. I think I think Fate is the best orb character. However, there's just so many solid choices. It'd be cool to see more people play Dusk. Dusk needs some love too, but these 3 are just so strong. It's really hard to make an argument to play them unless you like Spear. So any Spear players interested in orb definitely should check them out. But that's the end of the video, guys, so see you next time.